And they're just completely emotional about their time. If you can't manage your emotions, you're screwed when it comes to managing your time.
Hey, welcome to 10X Your Team with Cam and Otis. We're a father-son leadership podcast where we talk with other lifelong learners about making an impact and solving big problems, like the irony of recovering from a long weekend. Is Camden and I, before our guest Clay, before you jumped in the green room with us, Camden and I were just commiserating how wonderful a long weekend is because we did a lot of stuff on the long weekend. So,
yeah,
Camden,
always nice being productive, but you drag butt Monday, or in this case Tuesday, when you're nice and productive all weekend, right?
yeah. Clay, did you have any long weekend recovery this morning?
I did, well, it wasn't this morning. It was actually, it would have been on Sunday morning. I spent most of the day on Saturday power washing. And so woke up Sunday and my forearms were screaming at me. Oh my gosh.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Very painful. So lots of aspirin on Sunday.
That's a funny thing. I've thought about that many times. When you grab something like that, you got to hold the power washer, but for some reason you squeeze that trigger like it's going to get away
so much
from
harder. Yeah, so much harder than you need to. And then, of course, when you're on a ladder power washing, there's a whole lot of just reaching out with one arm. So you're just holding that thing with one arm, and I think I did it for about 4 hours, and woke up Sunday. Woke up Sunday, and it was it was a little painful.
Dude, that's it's a good thing that you're now back in a nice air-conditioned building with a tie on.
Got the tie on, exactly. Yeah.
Sitting in your big comfy chair saying, I did something over the weekend. I'm kind of glad to just talk to people today, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's very good to be here around the table, just talking with you guys.
Clay, I wanna dive into leadership because as you came in, you said that you were down on the floor. And folks, if you haven't read Clay's bio, he doesn't really talk a lot about this part of his life, but he's also a representative at I almost said University of Oklahoma, but it ain't. It's the state
Boomer!
of Oklahoma. Yeah, you can be a boomer.
There we go. I am an alumni. Yeah.
There you go. See, that's probably why it was jumping out. It's my Freudian. One of several I'm sure I'll always have. But one of the things that I'm always fascinated with in a group like that, where everybody has, you have the left and right extremes, and you have the group in the middle. As a leadership expert, what's something that comes to mind when you think about this wide breadth of people and bringing them together to help things move forward, I guess is what I should say.
Right. Man, thank you for asking. It's a great question, Otis. One of the things that I'm really enjoying right now is the challenge in this level of leadership. I've had leadership positions forever, just like you guys. I've been a leader, but every single one of my leadership positions up to this point, I've been the leader, and so it's like, here's what we're going to do. And here we go. And if anybody goes, well, I don't want to do that. It's like, okay, you're fired, and we move on. But now here I am at the Oklahoma State Capitol, and I can't do anything unless I get 50 friends to come with me, and then I've got to get another 28 senators to come with me along with a governor. And so this is a leadership challenge that I have never experienced, and I am really, really enjoying the challenge of it, and learning how to lead at this level. I represent 40,000 people here at the Capitol, but I'm surrounded by other people that represent 40,000 people each. And so learning the language of that, Otis, has been very new for me. And the learning curve has been very steep. And man, just the whole learning who to trust and who you can't trust. And the stories are real. The stories are real about, being in politics. It can be a Shark Tank.
Well, that's the kind of interesting thing talking about, leadership in that context is there's two pictures we get, which is at its core level, we think like democracy and leadership. It's like, that is like the purest form of leadership. Like you are leading those 40,000 people, represent the people working together, all that kind of stuff. And then there's the stories that you're alluding to, where it's like we also hear is how it is completely different. Like it is somehow the perfect example of leadership while also having nothing to do with every other example of leadership. Could you talk a little bit about how you kind of square those two and kind of square those two, connect those dots a little bit?
Yeah, I think, when I'm running my company, the to-do list is very different when I'm running my company because it literally is just a bunch of tasks that I have to accomplish when I'm running my company as an entrepreneur. My to-do list is filled with, okay, I need to check on this. I need to make this phone call. I need to talk to this person. I've got a sales presentation. Need to make sure the marketing is going. Need to take a look at my numbers. Got to talk to that employee. All of that kind of stuff. Oh, and by the way, the toilet's backed up. So someone's got to go fix that thing. And but man, here at the Capitol, that's not my to-do list. There is nothing on my to-do list to do these tasks here. All of my to-dos here are all about talking to people, building relationships, and collecting alliances, and getting people to look through your lens so they will align with you. And then, of course, you have people that aren't aligning with you. Okay, so how am I going to try to neutralize those people? Have those conversations to where they're not against you, but they're not against you. They're just not going to come out and tell everybody else, yeah, don't vote for Clay's thing, And so that's my to-do list. And so again, it really is. I think it was Eisenhower. President Eisenhower, forever ago, Dwight Eisenhower said, the true art of leadership is getting other people to do what you want them to do because they want to do it. And so, I've used that phrase a lot as a business owner when it comes to employees and getting employees to do what you want them to do. But man, it is a whole new level. Here, being surrounded with other men and women here at the Capitol. And like I said, I am just loving. I've only been here, I should probably say, I'm just now finishing my second year. So my first term, I'm just finishing my first term here.
So it sounds like it is the ultimate test of team building. Maybe exactly. You want to use the term tribe because tribe's a little bit looser. I would. You
got to be careful with that term here in Oklahoma. Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah, get interesting here.
I'm a Texas boy that lives in Colorado. I just do what I do.
There you go. Yeah, yeah.
Well, but I'd love to, because all your years coaching high school sports, like you said, you don't really fire a high school kid, but you put them on the bench.
Yeah, yeah.
And when they don't want to, or they don't buy in, how is that skill, that level of head coaching skill, translated to, come on, guys, let's build a little bit of a partnership here? Yeah.
And Otis, I'm learning this. Okay. I haven't been here long enough to really figure all that out, and I'm hearing even today on the floor, I'm hearing other representatives stand up and say, this is the culmination of an 8-year project. This is a culmination of a 6-year project, that they've been working on to get a coalition. And usually what that means is it's not that they've waited for 6 or 8 years to run the bill. Oh no, they ran the bill year 1 and year 2. and year 3, and it's gotten kicked out every single time. And so it just, and I've even got a couple bills that have got blown up on year 1 and on year 2, and I'm going to be running again here in year 3. But you learn who that coalition is. Who do you need to talk to? What tweaks do you need to make? And so I'm still learning that skill that you're talking about. I'm in that learning place, which is uncomfortable. You just want to know how to do it. Just like so in my business, as a business owner, when you're having to learn all this stuff, it's like, I'm coming on 60. I'm coming on 60. I don't want to learn anything else. And I started as an entrepreneur at 47. At 47 years old was the first time I said, I think I'm going to run my own thing. And so the learning curve has just been huge throughout each of those phases in my life. And it can be difficult when you're learning new things. And especially when you're learning new things in a season of your life where you have to perform right now. It's kind of like you're in the game, and it's like, I need to learn how to play better. Well, sorry, you don't have time to learn how to play better. You just need to be better now. And so I know a lot of times as a business coach, talking with every single one of our clients, especially when we start with them, they already have their company up and going. And so, and either they've got a situation where they're going, I don't know how to grow my company. I need to increase my leads and increase my revenue. Or maybe they've got a ton of business, and that's the problem, is they're unorganized. And so more business is just crushing them. And, or maybe they just don't have the right people in place. And so I come along and I go, oh, well, no problem. Here's what we've got to do. And it's like, Clay, I don't have time. I don't have time to do any of that because I'm in the game, Clay. I have to start work, and I'm the one working all the time. So that is usually a very difficult transition when you are trying to work. You've heard the classic, trying to work on the business instead of in the business. And, that's a quaint little phrase, and it works really well at cocktail parties, or around the table drinking beers later on.
Let me tell you how to fix your business. You need to work on it, not in it.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll get right on that. But that it's a real art to be able to navigate that season in your business. But if you don't navigate it, then you're stuck. That's the issue. If you don't navigate it, then you'll be stuck for the next 10, 15, 20 years if you don't go to work, the business isn't going to work. And so that's what we do is we help business owners get free, not only time freedom, but financial freedom. It's the combination of those two things. I want to make more money, and I don't want to become imprisoned by my company. And so Otis, it's great that I'm very blessed that I'm actually able to be an example of that, to where my business that has been very successful has actually given me the time freedom to be able to be away from my company for 4 months at a time over here in Oklahoma City doing this stuff. And it's a real blessing to be able to do that.
Talking about the seasons of business and that like problem solving aspect there, I think it was really interesting talking about in the political sphere. You're talking about like these 8-year coalition, like building it up that whole time. One of the things that comes to mind as a problem we talk about a lot in entrepreneurship, which is the idea of like, what are you falling in love with the problem solving? Are you falling in love with the problem or with your solution? And Clay, I could guess if I was campaigning for a solution for 8 years, I probably love that solution more than my problem, right? And so what's like a lesson, I guess you could say, that you could learn from the political sphere there of making sure that, you're committing to it, you love your solution, those kind of things, but it's more about having the love for the problem so you can find a good solution rather than waiting around for the perfect one.
Yeah, and again, great question, Cam. This is a phrase that I've heard a lot, being a new person here at the Capitol, is don't fall in love with your bills. Don't marry your bills, because the bill in this situation would be my solution.
Right.
I've got a solution to that. Here's some legislation. And if you fall in love with that bill, and again, I've had it happen, and, you're standing up in front of a committee and you're going, this is an awesome bill. And immediately people start throwing questions at you. And you're going, it's like they're slapping your baby. It's like, wait a minute. This is like, and if you are just tied to that thing, then it can really be emotionally, it can really be difficult. And then if you respond emotionally, then all of a sudden you can make some enemies. You can separate. And now when you're trying to actually get something done at this level in the Capitol, when you're actually trying to get something done, you can't get people to move toward you because you've broken trust. And you've created a challenge. If I can use my fingers here, you've created a challenge out here that's bigger than the relationship that's in here. And when you do that, when you have this relationship that's got this capacity and you bring a challenge that's here, that's what breaks trust. So you've got to make sure that when you're team building, Otis, going back to what you're talking about, that we talk about relationship, challenge, trust. Relationship, challenge, trust. So when it comes with your employees, one of the things that we always train with our employees, with our managers and our supervisors and leaders is you're always working on that relationship because at some point you're going to bring a challenge that you need them to do for you in the moment. And I don't have time to build a relationship with you right now. I just need you to do this thing, And if you haven't taken that time to build that relationship, then again, so often what will happen, you'll have to force people to do it. And that happens. As business owners, that definitely happens. But if that is your main go-to, where you're always forcing your people to do things, it's going to get old for everybody. And you're going to have a hard time keeping A players around. So
what's the other end of the spectrum there? I think is really interesting because you're talking about getting the feedback and, being open to those side of things. Well, then that kind of gets into what we call in the business world, the good idea fairy it's like, oh, I just got to throw this into the bill and this, and Clay, I like that idea. That's going in the bill. And you go through all this, and then now you don't have your bill at all anymore. And,
exactly.
Obviously two very different examples, but in the political sphere, how do you work or how have you seen people work to limit that? Because I think that lesson you can apply it to business as well.
Oh, yeah. And again, when you're standing up presenting a bill, because you have to get buy-in. And again, if we're not careful, when we are the leader of a small business, if we're not careful, we can fall into this mindset of I'm the boss. I don't have to get buy-in, And so I don't really care what your thoughts are. Here's what we're going to do. And again, there are times where that is the reality. This is what we're going to do. I need everybody to hop on board. But if that is your go-to, then it just wears people slick. And over time, people can begin to distance themselves, and they'll leave you even for less money to go someplace else for a better environment. But Camden, I have been in situations where I'm presenting a bill, and I will say, here's the bill, and somebody who doesn't like the bill the way it is will begin to say, would you be willing, Representative Staires, would you be willing to have conversations to change this and change that? And there definitely are pieces where I'll go, yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. But invariably, they will get to the heart of the matter. They'll get to the core of what I'm trying to do. And at that point, it's like, nope, we're not changing that. We can talk about these things over here, but right now at the core, we're not going to be changing that. And that would come back to oftentimes in my company and with clients that we work with, it comes down to those core values. And there may be some conversation on how you do some things in your company. If you bring in a new employee, I always love the new employees that come in and say, man, within their first week, they've got a better way to do things. It's like, that's great. Shut up and do your job type of thing. But We'll edit that out maybe,
No.
but as far, yeah, but the idea, there may be some adjustments on the how we do things, but there aren't adjustments on the why. The core values in my company, the reason this company exists, those core values, those don't change. And so when I hire people, it is so much easier, you guys, and I'm sure you have found this. It's so much easier when you're interviewing to interview for fit. Interview for fit. Talk about your core values. Ask them a question. Say, for instance, one of our core values is production. So we talk about production and producing results and stuff like that. So very often I will just bring up that word and say, talk a little bit. I want you to talk a little bit about producing results and production. What does that mean to you? And they'll start talking. And there's an ancient proverb that talks about out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And they'll just start talking. And sometimes when they talk about production, they will actually use my language. So it's like, okay, I get it. We're talking the same language. Other times people will talk. It's like, you have no idea what I'm talking about. It doesn't mean that this is a bad person. It just means that, okay, for me to bring them into my company and they don't fit, I'm going to have to work hard just to get this person to fit in the company. But if they fit before I even bring them in, it just makes management so much simpler if they are connected with my why I'm here, if they're passionate about it, if they're excited about it, if they are in alignment with me, it makes it so much easier. And we've got a whole list. We've got a whole list of questions that you can ask in an interview to discover if somebody fits your company. And because it's not that hard. Again, you just get them talking about what your company, the core values in your company, and either they'll use your language or they won't. And so hopefully that answers that question.
Yeah. You said something that I'd love to circle back to, and the emotional tie, because it's so important in business and what you're doing there with the legislative. And what technique, process do you follow? And I'd even be curious to know about when you were coaching high school and teaching in high school, keeping the emotions contained. And what's some techniques that you've used that you found successful to help you do that?
I found a lot of alcohol. No, I'm joking. No.
Really works well with high school football players.
Really, I tell you, it works great.
Yeah, for you or them, I don't know.
Good point. Yeah, this is another thing. It's interesting. I look back again. I'm old enough now where I can look back over my life and see patterns, and I'm the old guy now. But because when I first started leading, I was actually teaching kindergarten and elementary school, and then from there, my life expanded, and then I was teaching and coaching in high school. And then I left the academia, and I took over my family's nonprofit ministry, which was a Christian summer camp. And we started a discipleship training school for college kids. So now I've gone from little kids to high school kids, and now I'm teaching college kids. And then when I left that, I started my own company when I was 47. And now I'm doing the same thing, teaching, training, developing, mentoring adults who run businesses. And so it's like, okay, I've been doing the same thing for 35 years now. It's just been in different vehicles. But the idea, man, I'm so glad you brought this up. I've got this thing that I call the 5 dragons, the 5 management dragons. Otis, you'll love this. Okay. And I've got this on my website at claystairs.com. But I've got the 5 management dragons. And these are the 5 areas that you and I need to get better and better at in management to become more and more successful. And usually what happens, it's kind of like a video game, okay? Because they go in levels. If you don't beat the first dragon, you're screwed. You're not going anywhere. you know, and but to the degree that you are able to slay these dragons, you will be able to increase your capacity to be able to process the greater and greater complexity that comes with success. So it starts out, the first dragon that we've got here is the emotional dragon. And you and I both know people that haven't learned how to slay that emotional dragon. And they are just right on the edge. And they are highly emotional. And so many times also as business owners, we haven't learned to manage our own emotions. And then when we hire people and bring them in, they don't know how to manage their emotions. And so the office just turns into this big crazy town, and you're the mayor type of thing. I'm surrounded by idiots. Well, you must be the king of the idiots type of thing. And so the first dragon that we have to learn how to slay is that emotional dragon. I'm actually writing a book right now on these 5 management dragons, and the emotional dragon. And then the next dragon that we address is what I call the time dragon. And almost 100% of the time when I am talking to a client and I'm asking, hey, did you get those action items done? It's like, oh, Clay, my week has been crazy. Oh my gosh, it's just, and they're just completely emotional about their time. If you can't manage your emotions, you're screwed when it comes to managing your time. And then after time, once you get better at managing time, now you can begin to manage your work. But again, did you get that stuff done? No, I couldn't do the stuff. Why not? Because I didn't have time. Oh, you didn't have time. Why not? Oh, it's crazy. Because you weren't managing your emotions. They just build on one another. But once you're able to manage your work, now you can begin to manage your money because you can actually have consistent work that you can plan on. So now we've got money coming in. Hey, how's your money going? Oh, man, Clay, it really sucks. My money, cash flow is terrible right now. Oh, well, let's talk a little bit about your weekly schedule. Oh, don't get me started on my schedule, And it all turns into this emotional thing. But the final one is your people. Once you're able to manage your money, now you can begin bringing in people. And the first thing that happens when you bring in people, what they need is help managing their emotions. And so here it goes again. And so as a business owner, you can be it's unfortunate, but many times we are our own worst enemy because we haven't learned how to expand with each of these areas in management. And our emotion, our time, our work, our money, our people. Those are the 5 areas that if we can get better and better and better, then success won't crush us. But if our capacity stays low in that, then success will actually just make your day terrible. Oh, we got more business. Oh, crap. Now I got to work more. It can be really, really hard.
Talking about emotions, I'd be really curious on the kind of joint perspective of what you've kind of picked up on sales. Because there's this rule I've seen in business where it's like a lot of the time the emotional sale doesn't work because it's like, I believe my emotions more than I believe yours. You're kind of trying to put something on me. I don't believe you on that kind of thing, right? We kind of see, it gets, to put it bluntly, it gets our BS detector going off a lot when we get the emotional sale, right? Oh, yeah. But then, as a citizen, not a politician, I tend to see politics, it's like all emotional sales is what it tends to feel like. And so I'd be really curious how that has shaped your perspective of like how you could still use the emotion, but without just selling on the emotion and like kind of making a little bit of a nuanced offer there. I feel like the best way to put it.
Oh, and I think being humans, I think we are highly emotional people. And so the idea, Otis, to your point a moment ago, I think a lot of people say either I'm really emotional or I'm a robot, and people resist managing emotions because they're afraid they're going to be a robot and they're going to be like Mr. or Miss No Emotion. It's like, no. We are highly emotional people. We just need to learn how to manage those emotions. And because if you can't manage them, then those emotions will rule your life. I'll give you another few steps. Okay, I call all of these the steps to freedom. Okay, so I've got a ton of them. You know, I got these. I got 4 steps here. I got 3 steps. You know, there's 7 steps to that. But but when it comes to the actions that we take, Camden, to your point, the actions that we take, you've probably heard this before, that thoughts lead to actions. And if you've got wrong thoughts, and you're going to have wrong actions. Well, let me break that down just a little bit. If you take your thoughts and if you take your emotions, okay, thoughts will drive your emotions. And if you take thoughts and emotions and add in your personal experiences and just live in those 3 right there, your experiences will always confirm your thoughts. Well, I thought it would be like that, which will always confirm your feelings or your emotions, which will always dictate your experiences. And so if we're not careful, we can just stay in that little realm of just my thoughts, my feelings, and my experiences. But unfortunately, it's those thoughts, feelings, and experiences that determine your decisions, how you make decisions. And your decisions will always come out of your belief system. So you've probably heard people say, why do I keep doing that? I know better than that. Yeah, you do. You do know better, but you don't believe better than that, because your actions will always come out of what you believe. And so we can make, maybe we want something, or we read a book and I'm going to learn better. It's like, okay, I get it. You need to learn better, but even more than that, you need to believe better, because your actions will always come out of your beliefs. And then the results will always come from the actions. And so again, Otis, going back to your, how does somebody get better at their emotions? It's really discovering, for me, and this can get into a real deep conversation. I may have to burn some incense in here, if we're going to start talking about, but it really does come down to knowing and being very comfortable with who you are. And understanding who you are, what your gifts and talents are, what your strengths are. And when you can get secure in those things, that's when you can actually begin to be you can be much more anchored when the difficulties come as a business owner. But if there's fear, if there's anxiety, for me personally, I remember when I first started out, I found out really quickly, get this, guys, I found out really quickly as a business owner, I was trying to become somebody that I hated, a wealthy, successful business person. Somehow growing up, I had pictured that was a bad, greedy, negative thing. And now here I am as a business owner, and I'm trying to become somebody I hate. And so I had to do a lot of personal work that involved a lot of tears and snot, for me to figure that stuff out so I could actually become more and more successful. And that's hard. That personal work can be really hard.
I was just going to add, I know you got a question there, Dad, but I was talking with a client last week, and we kind of touched on this area, and I talked about like that fear of failure. And it's like, well, the fear of failure comes from like a lack of trust of yourself, that it's like, well, I've seen myself fail before, therefore I'm going to fail again. It creates this self-fulfilling prophecy, kind of keeps going. Yeah. And the example that I used with her, which I had never really fully connected, we might have on the podcast, but I had it on a coaching call, was this idea of, goes, and actually I got this from like a marriage advice once, of for every negative inside of your relationship, you need 10 positives. And it's like, if you think you're a failure because you failed something, you need to give yourself 10 things to look at that I did right in order to start to replace those feelings, to kind of wash out that negativity bias. And I think that's the big piece there, because that's where you can start to change those beliefs you're talking about, Clay, and really help you to be more productive.
Yeah, I read a book once by Robert Kiyosaki. You may know him. He's the Rich Dad, Poor Dad guy. And I've even had a couple of opportunities to talk with him personally, be on a podcast with him and stuff, which was a lot of fun. But he had a phrase. Here's some more steps, okay? Act, fail, learn, adjust. Act, fail, learn, adjust. Now, when we're in school, for 12 years or 16 or longer if you're me, and if you're every time in school, every single day, failure is negative. It is driven into our head. Don't fail. I can't fail. I can't fail. I can't make an F. I got to pass. I got to do this. But then you get out in life and it's not A, B, C, or D when you get out in life. So Kiyosaki talked about act, fail, learn, adjust. Most of life is learning and adjusting from failure. But unfortunately, to your point, Camden, what shuts most people down is the fear of failure. So if you're looking at the failure, you won't act. You won't take those chances. You won't step out because you're afraid to fail. And he talked about one of his mentors talking about, when he was struggling with his Velcro, when he first started out with his Velcro wallet and everything. Oh yeah, that was Kiyosaki. His mentor said, he was laughing at him. He was saying, your problem, you're not failing fast enough. Your fear is keeping you from taking the actions at pace. And you're afraid to fail, so you're not taking action. So you need to fail, and you need to fail faster. And but again, act, fail, learn, adjust. So that may be helpful too. That was a lesson that I've learned because I was really afraid to fail. What would it look like? What would people think of me? I only have so much money when I'm starting out. If I fail, I could lose it all and end up living on the street and eating out of a dumpster and stuff like that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And so I get deer in the headlights. So.
Yeah. I've struggled with that fear of failure myself for a number of years because where I grew up in the military, it meant people died. Right?
Yeah. Wow.
If you failed, people died. And that's a whole different perspective. And I can remember the first time at an entrepreneur event shortly after I retired. And that they say, well, fail fast, fail forward, fail often. And I'm like, wait a second, that's 3 failures. A lot of people and I just poo-pooed that idea until I came to terms with it. And, it's the old adage we used to laugh about this. And I know you'll appreciate this if you haven't heard it before is that words mean things. And, if you change that word, change your thought process of what that word means to you, or even change the perspective on how you look at that, it changes the whole aspect. Because it's really not that bad. Is somebody really going to die, Otis, if you call that guy up and he says, no, I don't want to?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And Otis, again, that goes back to your beliefs. Your actions are going to come out of what you believe about failure, not what you think about failure, but what you believe about failure. And so you may read a book or you may hear somebody talk and give you an idea about, oh yeah, act, fail, learn, adjust. Sweet, Clay, that's really nice. But until that thought moves through your emotions and you actually can begin to believe that thing, you're still going to be stuck in it. And that is a difficult path. It's a difficult path to walk. And, but it's really something. I asked a successful business guy just before I started my business. I sat down with the guy who's making millions of dollars, has a great business, everything. And I go, man, what's the key? How did you do it? How did you do it? And I remember he gave me an answer and I wanted to reach across the table and slap him. It was just, are you kidding me? Because his answer was, well, Clay, I think just a lot of luck. And I just, what? Here you are. You have navigated through so many things to become successful and you didn't keep track of the path. And so for me, you guys may as well, but I've been journaling since 1988. And so I've kept track of the path as I have moved from one season of my life to another season of my life. And at the Leadership Initiative, which is my company, it's all about, I feel like the Lord's kind of put this little backpack on me and said, Clay, this is what you're going to be really good at throughout your life. And what that is helping people get from where they are to where they want to be. That's where I feel like when I'm doing that, whether it be as a coach in high school or a science teacher in high school or working with college kids or working with business owners or even now here at the state capitol, helping people get from where they are to where they want to be. It's like that's when, for me, that's where the stars align. And that's where God's hand actually begins to work in my life. I love it. The people I'm with are loving it, and things seem to happen. And so again, just the finding those gifts and talents that are inside of you are so vital in not becoming that emotional train wreck that can so easily trip us up.
Yeah. Well, there's so many things going on that I just want to continue to dive in, but I've got to share something I learned, and just one, because I think it's the amazing. How do I put this? I'm trying to be super positive about it because I know it's going to be frustrating, but it's building a team of people who don't necessarily want to be on your team. You know, when you hire somebody in business, that's that they filled out the resume. I mean, they at least sent it in, so they had some aspect of wanting to be on your team, right?
Yeah.
What you're experiencing now in building this team of legislatures to get something passed that you feel is important man, I've done a lot of team building in my years. I ain't running for any office, I can tell you that. However, I wouldn't mind doing a little bit of that for the experience. That is awesome. So I don't know if that's I'm envisioning that challenge each and every day, and I love that aspect of the team building on the floor.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that's all. That's so far. That feels like that's like 90% of what I'm doing. And sometimes you're in a conversation with somebody, and if you're not careful, you'll get kind of too wrapped up in that. Okay, I've got to be really careful what I say because I may need this person later, and it's like, okay, I don't want to get all trapped up in that. I just want to be able to be free to have conversations and talk with folks. But you guys, when I was coaching high school, we had some really good teams, but every single season I coached whoever came out to play. In high school, you're not supposed to recruit and all that kind of stuff, So I know, but so I just had to build a team around whoever came out. And so it's not too unlike what I'm doing now here at the Capitol. These are the pieces that I have to work with. And so how can and again, there are some awesome pieces here. It's not like, oh, these are all terrible. No, there's some great pieces here. I've just got to figure out how to build that coalition in a direction where I want to go while I'm here. And how do I get them to go where I want to go? So it's a positive thing. But you're right, Otis, when it comes to my company, it's completely different. If people don't want to be on my team, it's an easy fix. I just promote them to customer status and let them pay me if they want to talk to me, and just promote them right out of the building and let them go be an awesome employee for somebody else, and you can actually select and recruit who you want on your team. But this is an interesting position to be in. And that's why I think I'm here for a purpose for a certain amount of time to learn how to do this better, because I do think that there's something on the other side of this. I don't know if it's still in politics, but I think there's something on the other side. So I'm at like a training camp or something right now, kind of learning how to do this thing.
I think the interesting, and I'm segueing into what I learned, Dad, so don't worry, you don't have to ask me.
You're not going to let me ask?
I think the interesting thing that I keep thinking, we would joke sometimes about, it's like, the part 2 of the episode, I had a few questions that we didn't get to today. But really, I think the interesting thing we're kind of getting to with a lot of these questions is trying to tease out the politician from the leadership. Because there's two different systems going on in there, and there's some really interesting leadership lessons. And then you have to make sure you're not walking that line of, like you were saying, of like, do I need to, like, I got to be extra nice to this guy and just going full politicians. Like, you don't want that either. You got to be able to tease the two out. But no, the thing I learned, Clay, you said this of interview for fit, which I had heard before, but what it really drew my mind to was, Dad, I don't remember who it was we had on, but they were working with, I think it was this fractional CMO. Eric Holtzclaw coming to mind, not totally sure, but he talked about, like, when you work with an entrepreneur, that it's like you assume that their business works because the other questions are much more important. He was basically like, I assume if you're like, I'm the new Apple, I assume you figured out something. What's your go-to-market strategy? What's your offer? And he kind of would always reframe it like that. Just look, I assume the entrepreneur is going to be good at the entrepreneur things. And I think when it comes to hiring, not that you need to assume that they can do their job, but I can see how that's not the thing you necessarily want to focus on. You want to focus on the person. And then it's like, hey, I assume that they'll figure out how to do their job and they'll fit in with the team. And if you have those things right, then they're probably going to do well at the job anyway. Now, just like a business, before you invest, you probably want to do a little homework, make sure they actually, know how to use Excel before you hire them in to, work for you. But there's a lesson there at least.
Awesome. Clay, what'd you learn?
Yeah, as far as what I have learned, just here on the phone call while we've been talking, is again just the transition and the connection between what I'm doing here at the Capitol in learning this new level of team building and how I can take that information and take that learning and experience back into my company and to be able to build team at a greater and greater level. So it's been a nice light bulb for me while we've been talking.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm sure you're going to be able to really impact your client's success level doing that. Clay, how do folks, speaking of clients, how do folks find you, get in touch with you, hire you up with all this newfound skill that you're gaining?
Yeah. Well, you can reach me. First of all, here's my cell phone number. Okay. My cell phone number is 918-798-0852. 918-798-0852. That's 918-798-0852.
Call now.
Call now, type of thing. But you can also reach me through my website at claystairs.com, CLAYSTAIRES.com. That's a whole lot easier than theleadershipinitiative.com, where you can find me too. But just working with small business owners. If you're in a spot right now where you as a small business owner, you're sitting there and going, man, I've got to increase my leads. I need to increase my revenue. That's where we help. Also, if you're in a spot where you're going, man, I got plenty of business, but my business is just out of control. I have no organization. I have no structure. That is my wheelhouse. I love coming in with that leadership and management. Or maybe you're in a spot where, as a business owner, where you're just thinking, how do I find the right people? The people that I have, I don't like. Even if you're your only employee, you might not like you, type of thing. But please give me a call. Come to our website and let's have a conversation. Whether you end up being a client or not, don't worry about that. Just give me a call if you have questions. Let's have a conversation on how we can get you on a path to financial freedom and time freedom. Your business is here to serve you. Your business is here to serve you. So let's make sure that you have the right vehicle in place.
Awesome. Clay, thank you so much for taking some time out of your super busy day. We know that's our most valuable asset, and we really appreciate you being here with us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Camden, run us out.
All right. Thank y'all for listening to today's episode of 10X Your Team with Cam and Otis. And a special thanks to our guest, Clay Staires, for joining us today. Remember, you can watch full episodes of the show on YouTube at 10x Your Team. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to pass along to other lifelong learners in your tribe so that they can enjoy it too. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. As always, the full archive of episodes available at www.10xyourteam.net. Thanks again, and we'll see you all next time.